Aloha! And we're going to celebrate our Fun Friday today. As I said, it was Hawaiian Day. Now, let me move this back here so you can see. I have all kinds of Hawaiian things that you could find if you were to go to Hawaii. Now, normally on this Fun Friday, we would have all kinds of activities and things. But today I just wanted to share a few things with you about Hawaii. Some things that the natives would eat there, different Hawaiian phrases. But first of all, let me show you where Hawaii is. Now, Hawaii is an island. It's all the way. So here is the United States. It's all the way over here. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is the Hawaiian Islands. Now, I will also show you in my book. Here is a picture of the Hawaiian Islands. So they are a group of islands, as you can see there, and you have to, of course, obviously, take a plane to get there. Now, one of the first things that I want to talk to you is a greeting. Now, if we were in school, I would greet you in the morning, I would kiss you on both sides of the cheeks, and I would say, aloha. That is the greeting that they would greet anyone who comes into Hawaii, and they would put this on them. This is one of their necklaces that they are famous for in the state, and this is called a lei. Now, I'm just going to tell you a few things about the Hawaiian culture, just so you can get an idea of what people dress like years ago. Now, they dress like we do. But a long time ago, the Hawaiians, they had an island, they lived on islands over in the Pacific Ocean, and they were discovered by a man named James Cook. He was a captain of a ship, and his boat, they discovered the Hawaiians there, his boat was there, and he noticed that they were ruled, the Hawaiians, by one chief. And the chief, his job pretty much was to lay around all day and eat. Wouldn't that be a cool thing to be able to do? So a chief, if he was a chief of a tribe, he would just lay around and people would feed him all day long. So the chiefs were usually very big, sometimes 400 pounds, and his job was to make decisions for the whole village. So every day people came, if they had problems, they would come to the chief would lay there eating, of course, and the people would tell the chief his problems and he would solve them. Now, the Hawaiians, they really just pretty much lived off the land. So they lived in kind of like a hut. They had they had poles in the ground, and they would have a dirt floor. There wouldn't be any windows. They would have kind of like leaves and branches, like long palm leaves that would be like their roof for them. And everyone slept together. So all the family members, even their animals that they had, would sleep in that one room. So if they had pigs, they slept with the pigs would sleep with them. So they all slept together. I imagine it was very, very stinky. Now the men, long time ago, not now, they would wear what was called a malo, and it was just like a skirt that was around their waist, and they usually picked colors that were yellow and red. The women, they wore a dress, and it was like a longer dress, and it came around, and it was called pau. And they would dye it, which would mean color it, and then they would put little designs on them. And they would wear wreaths in their hair and wreaths around their necks, and they did that because they wanted to look attractive. Now, what kind of food do you think they would have in Hawaii? What do you think? Well, the Hawaiians, they like to eat bananas. They would eat sweet potatoes, coconut, roots, pigs, chickens, and dogs. Yes, I said dogs. They ate dogs. I don't think dogs were their pets. If you would eat a dog, raise your hand. Not me. Now, when the Hawaiians, before they became more Americanized, where they had more things, they did not have all the things that we would use to cook. So they would dig a hole in the ground, they would put stones on the ground, and then they would put the meat right on the stones, and they would light a fire underneath it, and the hot stones would cook that meat. During those days, women were not the ones that would cook. It was the men. Hawaiian men were the ones who did the cooking. That seems strange. What do you think? So they would put that meat on the rock, it would cook, and then they would eat. They would eat as many as 8 times a day. I can't imagine eating that much. Sometimes they would get up in the middle of the night and they would eat. And they didn't have utensils or forks or knives or spoons, so they ate with their fingers. I don't think I would like to work and eat with my fingers. Now for jobs, the women, it was their job to do most of the work. Men did the cooking. Women, they made the clothes, they made baskets and pillows, they made sandals. The men were the ones who prepared the food, they fished, they would build canoes, and they would make tools from the shells. Now, here's the most exciting part for you, a child. What would a child do? Well, they learned what their parents did. They did not, okay, take a deep breath, they didn't go to school. No school! Can you imagine not having school? So they did not have any books, there was no writing. Anything that they would learn would be what their parents would teach them. Now, the games that the kids would play, they would play games throwing darts, they would roll a stone and see who could roll it the farthest. They would wrestle. They had wrestling matches. That was the game that they would like to play. So for today, maybe you can find one of your family members or a sibling and you can do a Hawaiian game. Have a stone rolling contest. See who can roll the stone the furthest. We probably would have done that in class. A few things that I want to leave with you before we go. I'm going to do a craft, but I'm also going to tell you about a few words in Hawaiian. So, obviously aloha is hello. Now, good morning is aloha kakahiaka. So, good morning in Hawaiian is aloha kakahiaka. If you wanted to say I love you, that is aloha awa iau. Aloha awa iau. That means I love you. And then the last one that I want to say for today, and then we'll talk more about next week. If you want to say come here in Hawaiian is hela mai, hela mai. So if you were, the last things we talked about, to go to Hawaii, you can find shells on the beaches. Now we've talked about these before. These are the conch shells. Okay, so I have all kinds of different shells. You could find flamingos there. You could find all kinds of different shells on the beach. This one's a little bit heavier shell. And then of course, my famous pufferfish. They're pufferfish in the oceans there. Now, one of the last things that I want to talk to you about, and then we'll talk more about it next week, we're going to talk about volcanoes. Hawaii actually was made from volcanoes. So volcanoes erupted, and the more that they erupted, it put the magma and the rock and all that stuff onto the island, and it started to create this island. So the volcanoes, as we know, are very, very dangerous. Volcanoes are dangerous. They're melted rock, lava, magma. They blast rock, ash, and gas in the air. So they're not necessarily safe. But next week, we're going to talk about how specifically Hawaii, why it has so many volcanoes on its island, because there are many, many volcanoes on their island. In fact, you'll find out the one volcano, Lohihi, is 9,000 feet above the ocean floor, and it's in the ocean, actually down under the water. And it will be someday, it will continue to erupt, and it will be, here's the Lohi volcano, it will become another island. So it will continue to erupt, and as it blows the ash and the magma and all of those things into the water, it forms rock, and then eventually an island will appear. And we'll find out that we'll talk about some specific volcanoes in Hawaii next week, and then we'll talk about some other fun facts. Now, the last thing that I want to leave you with is pineapple is a fun Hawaiian fruit. They love to eat pineapple in Hawaii. So I have 2 different ways that you could make your own pineapple. I just drew a circle, and if you have paint, you can make the green for your leaves, And then I just took my fingerprint, I took a couple of colors. I took yellow, blue, and green, and I kind of swirled them together, and I took my thumbprint, and I just started to press into my pineapple. Okay, so you could do that, or you could do it this way. So again, you could use green crayon or paint, or you could just use yellow, and you could just do yellow circles. So you can make your pineapple that way. So if you want a fun craft and activity today, you can do that. Now in this box here, I have a volcano. And next week, we're gonna talk about how this erupts, what it feels like, what the stone's like. I have an actual rock in here that was in this volcano. So you'll have to wait till next week to find out more about Hawaii and volcanoes. See you later.